What if that voice in your head, the one always whispering that you're not enough, suddenly went silent? What if this struggle you're in right now isn't a red light, but a green one? Not a sign to surrender, but a signal to rise. You weren't handed this pain to crush you. You were handed it to craft you. The pressure, the doubt, the exhaustion you feel right now, this isn't your downfall. It's your forge, because no man has ever ascended without first being broken. No kingdom ever stood without surviving a storm, and no mind was ever forged in steel without first enduring fire. You say it's hard? Good. That means the process is working. This speech, it's not here to comfort you. I'm not here to soothe the quitter inside you. I'm here to awaken the warrior, the builder, the part of you that executes, that endures, that refuses to shrink back into comfort. Let the fearful fall away. Let the doubters rest. But you don't get to quit. You've come too far. You've endured too much. And everything you've fought for is waiting just beyond this pain. So no, you don't stop here. You don't break here. You build here. Now rise right now within your own mind and let your silence speak louder than the noise of the world. This is your proving ground. This is your hour. Let's begin. When the journey gets tough, most men look for exits. They start spinning stories. Maybe this isn't meant for me. Maybe now isn't the time. Maybe I've done enough. But I'm here to speak to the part of you that remembers who you were before you were taught to doubt. Pain is not the enemy. Pressure is not a stop sign. Resistance is not a barrier. It is the threshold. And only a rare few, the makers, the movers, the deciders, will cross it. The man who steps through it does not return the same. He returns forged, stronger, sharper, real. That's what hardship is, a fire that burns away the illusions, the excuses, until all that's left is your core, unbreakable and true. Andrew Carnegie once told me something I've never forgotten. Adversity is the refining fire of destiny. It doesn't destroy the man, it reveals him. Carnegie wasn't born into comfort. He came from nothing. A poor Scottish immigrant working in a telegraph office, he listened, he learned, he prepared. And when opportunity knocked, he didn't flinch, because the fire had already done its work. The low wages, the long hours, the uncertainty, they had sharpened him. And now here you are in your own fire. The only question is, what will it leave behind? Will it leave a man who folded, or a man who became unshakable? Charles M. Schwab knew pressure well. As Carnegie's right hand, he faced giants, older, richer, more experienced. But what set him apart wasn't intellect, it was resilience. He didn't hesitate. He acted. He led. I once asked him how he managed fear, and he said, "Fear is a fog. You must walk forward even when you cannot see. You may not see your path clearly right now. You may be tired, clouded by doubt. But listen carefully. You still walk, you still build, because the man who waits for clarity will never lead. The one who says, 'I'll go when it's easier,' will never arrive." Now let's talk about Henry Ford. A man told his dream was absurd, that cars were toys, that no one could build the engine he envisioned. Even his engineers said it was impossible. You know what he told them. Build it anyway. Not once, again and again, until they did. Because Ford understood something. The average man never will. When the world resists you, it's not just testing you, it's asking, do you really want this? And your answer is not words. It's relentless pursuit. It's doing it tired, doing it misunderstood, doing it... Anyway, you think success feels comfortable? You think the builders of empires, industries, ideas did it from ease? No. They did it surrounded by doubt, by fatigue. But they didn't stop, because they decided, and they never gave retreat a seat at the table. So if you're tired, good. That means you're in the fight. If you're doubting, good. That means you're stretching. If you're under pressure, good. That means you're doing something that matters. But I will not let you quit, because quitting isn't just betraying your goals. It's betraying who you are becoming. You are the man who shows up. The man who listens not to fear, but to vision. The one who would rather bleed for a purpose than die in mediocrity. Let the crowd rest. Let them fall off. But you finish. Because this fire, it's not here to consume you. It's here to create you. When you rise, not if, when, the world will not say you were lucky or gifted or saved. They will say, you were forged. Keep going. Don't you dare quit. You must understand this now more deeply than ever before. This pain is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the rite of passage that transforms weakness into will, doubt into decision. But most men, they run from it. They seek shelter, comfort. You do not run. You were built for more than safety. You were built to withstand, to build. And nothing worth building ever comes without cost. Let's be honest. There will be days when nothing works, when the weight is too much, when even progress feels like a battle. And on those days the whispers will come. Maybe I should rest. Maybe I should slow down. Maybe I should quit. But those voices, they aren't you. They're the ghosts of who you used to be, the you who gave up too soon. And that version of you, he's gone. You've moved on. Now you speak louder. You say, I am still here. I may be exhausted, but I am not broken. I do not fold. I do not quit. This moment, this right here, is when your identity is rewritten, not by a celebration, but by a choice to keep going even when the weight shakes your legs, a choice to hold your ground when it would be easier to walk away. Abraham Lincoln led through darkness. He wasn't celebrated, he was condemned, mocked, doubted, but still he stood, anchored not by applause, but by purpose. And now you must do the same, anchored to your mission, to your future, to the man you've committed to becoming. There will be no cheers for this decision, no spotlight, no comfort, only work, only silence, only forward. But with every step, you're building something storms can't shake. This is where the crown is earned, not when it's easy, but when it's hell, when it's heavy, and you keep going anyway. That man, the one who doesn't quit when he could, he becomes undeniable. Here's what they won't tell you. Most people stop right before the breakthrough. One more call, one more sunrise, one more decision away from changing everything, and they let it go. Because it hurt. Let that truth burn into your spirit. You are not most people. You are not average. You do not follow comfort. You follow purpose. You live by a code. And that code, it is written in fire. Relentless, resilient, unbreakable. And quitting is not part of it. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times, but he never doubted the end. He decided, and every failure just confirmed he was getting closer. That's how you must see this moment. Not a wall, not a defeat, a passage. You do not stop when it's hard. You become harder. You do not fear resistance. You rise through it. You don't ask, will I make it? You say, watch me build it, and if no one claps, fine. If no one sees, keep going. If no one believes, you still do. You finish, because this fire you're in, it's temporary, but the strength it gives you, that will last forever. Keep going, and don't you dare quit. Schwab didn't wait for someone else to fix it. He didn't flinch at discomfort. He didn't slow down when others froze. He led because he understood something few ever grasp. Pressure is not the enemy, it is the proving ground. In the furnace of leadership, in the chaos of failure, in the noise of uncertainty, he stood still, unwavering, eyes locked on the result. That is what made him rise, not just above competitors, but into history. And that same power is within you. It is not exclusive to legends. It is activated in ordinary men who make one extraordinary decision: to keep going when every voice says, stop. Let me tell you something about that moment. The moment when you feel the most alone, the most unseen, the most unworthy. That is the exact place where destiny is born. Not in comfort, not in applause, but in the silence where only your decision remains. Will you collapse or will you conquer? That's the real question. Most men don't answer it. They avoid it. They numb themselves with distraction. They wait for clearer signs. But the builders, the finishers, the giants, they answer it by action. They move through the fog. They decide that vision is more important than validation. You must understand this now. The results you crave will not arrive on your timeline. They are not delivered on demand. They are earned through persistence so unreasonable, the world starts to wonder if you're mad. And maybe you are. Maybe you have to be, because who else keeps showing up without a guarantee? Who else keeps building while being doubted, dismissed, and delayed? Only the men who are no longer waiting to feel ready. Only the men who have burned the bridge behind them and made retreat impossible. That is what you must do now. Burn the bridge. Cut off the option to quit. The moment you commit fully, the pressure doesn't disappear, but it becomes fuel. There is a reason why every man you admire walked through the storm, because the storm is the only way to power. Teddy Roosevelt, a man born into frailty, turned himself into steel through will. He didn't wait to become strong. He made himself strong by facing what he feared. When illness tried to cage him, he trained harder. When critics tried to discredit him, he pushed further. That's the pattern. That's the path. You do not become a legend by accident. You become one by choice, by action, by refusing to stop even when the reward is invisible. And let me tell you this, not just as a speaker, but as a man who's walked through the dark, the reward will come. But not for the clever, not for the entitled. It comes to the one who refused to stop swinging the hammer when the wall didn't crack. It comes to the man who stayed when everyone else left. It comes to the one who didn't ask, how much longer, but simply said, as long as it takes. Because that's what greatness demands, everything, not just your time, not just your energy, your resolve, your identity. You will lose the version of you that played it safe, and that is a blessing. You will become unrecognizable to the people who once knew you, and that is the cost. But you will gain something far greater, yourself, refined, tested, reborn. So the question is not whether it's hard, the question is whether it's worth it. And if you are honest, you already know the answer. You were not made for mediocrity. You were not built to shrink. You were not called to walk a path of least resistance. You are here to rise, to lead, to overcome, to transform pain into power and pressure into presence. That is your calling. That is your crown. And when you feel like breaking, good. That means you're close. That means you're under construction. That means the old self is almost gone. So don't you dare quit. Not now. Not when you're one decision away, one day away, one act of courage away from everything you've ever wanted. Say it now. Say it loud. Say it like your future depends on it, because it does. I am not the man I was. I am the man I choose to become, and I choose to become unstoppable. Before you can rise to greatness, you must first eliminate every excuse that keeps you small. That truth defined the life of Andrew Carnegie, a man who clawed his way out of poverty and forged an empire not by waiting for comfort, but by burning every bridge behind him. He didn't keep a door open to retreat or mediocrity. He worked as if his life depended on it, because it did. Carnegie didn't chase wealth. He chased purpose. Absolute, relentless commitment to one singular mission, and with that commitment came something rare, the belief that no obstacle was permanent. Henry Ford understood this too. When he faced financial ruin, public disgrace, and fierce competition, he didn't look for another path. He didn't ask, "What if I fail?" He declared, "It will work because I refuse to consider anything else." That is what it means to burn the bridge, not metaphorically, not emotionally, strategically. Because as long as you have a way back you'll take it. Especially when pressure rises, your subconscious listens closely. If you feed it even the slightest doubt, hidden or not, it will find a way to sabotage your progress. But when you say, there is no going back, and you reinforce that decision through action, repetition, and resolve, your mind aligns with your mission. It says, we have no choice but to win. Let me tell you plainly, you won't reach the end of your purpose dragging the past behind you. You won't become the man you were born to be while still clinging to the excuses of who you used to be. So ask yourself, what bridges must you burn? What exits must you close? What version of yourself must you bury so a stronger one can rise? This isn't about recklessness. It's about finality, about telling your own mind, we do not turn back. Say this now, I do not entertain escape. I do not flirt with failure. I move forward, and I do not look back. Let those words become the wall that keeps fear at bay. Let them become the foundation of your identity. You don't need more motivation. You need more finality. You need to set fire to the bridge that once kept fear alive and walk into your future with nothing but flames behind you. Because the man who leaves no way back becomes the man who must find a way forward, and he always does. Let's press into the next part, where we destroy the illusion of perfect timing and unlock the mindset of immediate execution. Shall we? There is a dangerous lie that has stopped more men than failure ever could. It is the myth of the right time, the belief that one day, when everything aligns, when the pressure fades, when finances are perfect, when confidence arrives, then you will act. But let me make this clear. There is no right time. There is only now and not now. That's it. Every other category is fiction. The man who waits for ideal conditions is the man who dies with his greatest work still trapped inside his mind. Thomas Edison didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for the perfect team, the perfect lab, or the perfect headline. He began, he acted, and he failed more times than most men ever attempt. But those were action failures, not hesitation failures. And that is why he succeeded. Understand this deeply. Motion attracts momentum. Hesitation attracts more hesitation. Every time you delay, your subconscious hears the pause and thinks, this is dangerous. We aren't ready. Let's not move. And so it wires you with fear, until the idea that once lit your soul now terrifies you, not because it's impossible, but because you paused. Let me share something Henry Ford understood better than any man in his generation. Speed matters, not speed in results, but speed in decision and execution. Ford once said, you can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. Think about that. He didn't become one of the wealthiest men in the world by waiting for everyone to agree. He acted before they believed. He built before they clapped. He moved and forced the world to adjust. The most dangerous habit a man can form is hesitation. Because it disguises itself as wisdom. It looks responsible. It feels intelligent. It sounds like caution. But in truth, it's fear in a tuxedo. Fear in disguise. And it robs men of their destiny by convincing them to wait. You must kill this belief now, the belief that tomorrow will be better, that someday you'll be ready. Someday is the deathbed of dreams. No man becomes great by accident. No man looks back at a life of mastery and says, I waited until it felt perfect. He says, I moved when it was hard. I acted when I wasn't ready. I trusted my decisions more than my emotions. Abraham Lincoln didn't wait for peace before taking action. He made war with injustice. He made bold declarations in times of division. He didn't ask the nation to calm down first. He stepped into the storm because the mission mattered more than the moment. And that's what you must do. You must begin before you feel ready. You must move even when your hands tremble. You must trust your identity, not your feelings. Say this now, I do not wait to feel strong. I act and strength follows. I am. not a man who waits. I am a man who moves. The time is now, and because I say it is. That is what the subconscious understands. Repeated commands with emotional conviction. When you act before you feel ready, something amazing happens. Your nervous system catches up. Your confidence builds through action. Your mind begins to obey your identity instead of your excuses. This is the law of power. You don't act because you feel ready. You feel ready because you acted. So I challenge you. Stop looking for the right time. It doesn't exist. The clock is your enemy. The calendar is a coward's tool when used to delay destiny. Your mission is waiting. Your next step is waiting. And fear. Fear is hoping you'll think about it a little longer. Don't move now, and let the world watch in confusion as you build without permission. There is a reason most men fail to finish what they begin. It's not because they lack skill. It's not because they lack resources. It's because they lack command over the one thing that governs every decision, every action, every moment of courage or retreat: emotion. Let me speak to you with absolute clarity. The man who does not control his emotions will never control his destiny. Emotions are like weather patterns. They change, shift, come and go with no warning, no schedule, no guarantee. If your sense of direction depends on how you feel, you will be a slave to moods. You will act when happy, stall when tired, and fold when challenged. Feelings are not facts. They are suggestions, whispers, temporary guests in the house of your mind. Yet most men treat them like kings, obeying every rise and fall, every inner signal, as if emotion equals truth. It does not. Emotion is reactive. Purpose is proactive. Andrew Carnegie once said, "The man who learns to rule himself will soon rule many." He didn't mean rule through force. He meant through example, presence, and the ability to stand firm when others collapse. That begins with one skill: emotional mastery. Ask yourself, how often have you betrayed your future because of a temporary emotion? How many times have you given in to fear, doubt, anger, or fatigue and chosen the easier path? The truth is, it's not the difficult days that define a man. It's who he becomes on those days. When the pressure mounts, when the plan fails, when you wake up with a storm inside you, what do? Most men retreat. They justify. They delay. They say, "Not today. I'm not in the right headspace. I'll get back on track tomorrow." But here's the reality. Every time you give your emotions the final word, you weaken your identity. You teach your subconscious that your feelings are more powerful than your mission. And soon, that becomes your rhythm. But the man who masters himself acts despite how he feels. He doesn't deny his emotions. He overrules them. That is what separates the builder from the dreamer. Let me give you an example. Thomas Edison had every reason to quit. 10,000 failures, public mockery, financial strain, the pressure of time, expectation, and doubt. But he did not allow frustration or fatigue to become his guide. He acted anyway. And in that decision, he trained his nervous system, his subconscious, and his very soul to follow identity, not emotion. When asked how he endured such relentless failure, Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways." That won't work. Do you understand the strength in that statement? He didn't see failure. He saw progress. He didn't surrender to despair. He redefined the journey. That is the mindset of a man who refuses to let emotion dictate his destiny, and that is the mindset you must adopt. Behind those words is not just a clever saying, it's a discipline of emotional command. That truth doesn't live in theory, it lives in action, in the moments when everything inside you says stop, and still you choose to go on. Let me speak directly to you now. There will be days when you don't want to continue, when your body aches, when your heart feels heavy, when the outcome is unclear, and your mind is filled with doubt. And on those days, you must act anyway, because the man you are becoming, the real version of you, is not determined by how you feel. He's revealed by how you respond. When your emotions scream for retreat, emotional control isn't about pretending. It's not about suppressing your pain. It's about overriding it. It's about being the captain of your ship when the sea is wild. Henry Ford knew this better than most. He was criticized by newspapers, betrayed by partners, doubted by the public, yet he kept building. Why? Because he trained himself to act with mechanical consistency, whether the day was easy or brutal. That consistency became his edge, his weapon, his way forward. So how do you build that kind of control? Let me teach you the discipline. Name the emotion, but don't obey it. When fear rises, say, "This is fear." When anger comes, say, "This is anger." Then say, "I do not obey this. I act anyway." Why? Because naming separates you from the feeling. It removes the illusion that you are the emotion. You are not. You are the observer, and the observer always has the power to choose. Anchor yourself to identity, not mood. Your identity must be more powerful than how you feel in any single moment. You must rehearse this truth every day. I am the man who moves, no matter what. Say it aloud, say it often. Let your subconscious hear it until it becomes default. Because if your identity is tied to action, not comfort, your actions will rise above your state. Create rituals that activate power. The greatest men I've studied didn't wait to feel powerful. They had rituals to summon it. Andrew Carnegie meditated daily on his definite purpose. Charles Schwab would start each morning reviewing his mission, not checking the news or gossip. You must do the same. Create anchors. It may be affirmations, a cold shower, a walk in silence, a declaration in the mirror. Whatever it is, repeat it daily, because repetition creates emotional stability. Expect resistance and welcome it. The builder does not curse the hammer for being heavy. He trains with it, so when the emotion comes, the fear, the doubt, the fatigue, do not be shocked. Welcome it like an old rival. Smile and say, "You came again. Good. Let's dance." Then act. Move anyway. Let me remind you what Abraham Lincoln carried on his shoulders, the fate of a divided nation, the burden of civil war, the screams of public criticism, and yet he endured. He wrote. He led. He did not allow his private pain to become public paralysis. That is emotional control, not numbness, not suppression, but alignment so deep with purpose that the emotions of the moment cannot detour you from the mission. Say this with me now. I am not my feelings. I am my decisions. I do not obey emotion. I obey mission. I feel fear. I feel doubt. But I move anyway because I lead my state. These are not affirmations. These are commands. You speak them not to soothe yourself, but to restructure yourself, because every time you act with power while feeling weak, you build a spine made of steel. Over time, the fear that once ruled you becomes a whisper. The doubt that once stalled you becomes irrelevant. The hesitation that once held you back becomes impossible to access, because your identity no longer allows it. This, my friend, is the fruit of emotional control. You do not wait for peace to move you. You bring peace with your movement. You do not seek calm. You embody it. And when the going gets hard, when the weight is heavy, you do not collapse. You rise, you act, and the world adjusts. Now let us move forward into the next and final part of this message, where we plant the flag of finality and declare war on retreat itself. We will bring together everything we have learned and finish what we started. Are you ready? Let us now speak the final word, not to conclude, but to begin again, with more certainty, more power, more fire than you have ever known, because This is not the end of a speech. This is the birth of a new man, and that birth does not happen with a single decision. It happens with repetition. You must hear these words again. You must speak these truths again. You must return to this message not once, not twice, but daily, until the version of you who used to hesitate, who used to fold, who used to shrink, is no longer alive, because the transformation you desire is not a spark, it is a rhythm, a daily, deliberate, unrelenting reinforcement of identity until it becomes unquestionable. You do not listen to this once and change. You install it. You do not treat this as inspiration. You treat it as instruction. You do not wait for the message to return to you. You return to it. That is what the greatest men I've studied understood. Andrew Carnegie did not become powerful through a single conversation or flash of insight. He returned to his beliefs every day. He repeated his purpose. He fed his mind with the same truths again and again, until there was no room left for contradiction. He did not meditate once. He meditated forever. Henry Ford, too, knew the law when he said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." He wasn't being poetic. He was being precise. He was describing the science of belief by repetition. He installed the thought of success so deeply that doubt had no oxygen. To live, you must do the same. This message is not a one-time speech. It is a mirror, one you must return to, until the reflection becomes who you are. You must rise every morning and hear it again. Walk with it in your ears when the day feels heavy. Close your eyes at night and rehearse the lines that call you to rise above fear, fatigue, fleeting moods. Because every time you repeat this message, you drive it deeper. You dig a new trench in the landscape of your subconscious, and that trench becomes the path your thoughts automatically walk. Let me be clear. The man who listens once is entertained. The man who listens 10 times is inspired. But the man who listens daily and speaks the words with power, he becomes transformed. This is the law of autosuggestion. This is the science of identity. You must burn these truths into your soul. Say this with me now. Will not forget who I am becoming. I do not let fear rewrite my programming. I repeat power until power becomes natural. Because the truth is simple, my friend. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are simply untrained, and the training begins with repetition. Every great man, Edison, Carnegie, Ford, Schwab, Lincoln, they all knew the same secret. If you repeat belief with emotion long enough, it replaces every limitation. So I say this now, with force and finality. Do not leave this message behind. Do not move on to the next thing. Do not treat this as another dose of motivation. This is your discipline now. You wake up, you play this message, you walk alone, you repeat its words. You feel doubt creeping in. You override it with these lines because repetition is not boring. It is the chisel that shapes the stone. And if you want to be forged, if you want to be unshakable, immovable, undeniable, then you must hammer these truths into your spirit daily. You will forget, you will drift. That is human. But if you repeat, if you return, if you recommit to these truths again and again, eventually you will wake up one morning, and the man who feared the world, he will be gone. In his place, a man who moves with silence, a man who walks through resistance like wind, a man who no longer hopes for strength, because strength has become his default. Repeat. That is the instruction, not tomorrow. Now, repeat. Until doubt cannot find your name. Repeat until hesitation cannot enter your posture. Repeat until your voice carries the weight of identity, not effort. Repeat until your actions no longer require motivation. Repeat until discipline becomes nature, and when the going gets hard, as it will, you will not collapse. You will not cry out for help. You will not retreat into the past. You will stand, not because you feel like it, but because you have trained for it. And when that moment comes, when you face the trial, you will not say, "I don't know what to do." You will hear these words echo in your soul. You will hear this rhythm, this fire, this standard, and you will move because repetition built you for this. So say it one last time. With the full power of your voice, I do not need to feel ready. Repeat readiness. I do not search for strength, I speak it. I do not listen once, I live this daily. This is your final word, your beginning, your new rhythm, your rebirth. And now, return to the start. Begin again. Let it repeat.